Hey everybody, this is Will Hart, back with another Global Green Room podcast. I got one of my best friends on the planet and another person here, Josh Clark. You're here with me.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here. Am I your best friend or the
You're
other
the best
person?
friend. Yeah, the other person is just the other person.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I guess I'm the other person.
Listen, no, I'll introduce you. So we're here for a really cool, I think, podcast. I've been looking forward to this since we kind of came up with the idea. Josh and I kind of came with my wife. We kind of came together. My wife's here. Everybody say hi to Musy, Hart. You don't have to really look at anything because they're going to watch us having a conversation. That's the idea. Steve Swanson, when he was here, he just looked at the lens the whole time. It was very awkward. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to talk. And but while I'm introing, I will say hi. So we got 3. This is the first time we've had 3. We've always just had me. Is this exciting?
Very exciting. We are breaking new
It's
ground.
like Trinity.
Yeah.
It's the Holy Trinity. And so we're here. We want to talk about, drum roll, cancer. We're going to do that. We're going to talk about cancer. I thought with the news that we just got, I thought it would be a good time to come on and just talk about the journey that we've been through. So for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, why is Will talking about cancer? About a year ago, almost to the day, babe. Do you realize that?
Yep.
By the way, this is my amazing wife, Musy. Everybody say hi,
Reseda.
Musy.
Hi.
Yeah, Reseda, if you want to use her official name.
I do.
About a year ago, almost today, you got diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
That's right.
And it was like last week, maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, we got the news that you're in remission.
Come on.
So, which is good. That's exciting.
Super exciting.
It really is.
I mean, that's amazing.
It's amazing.
Right? That's awesome.
So stage 4 is the worst that you can get. So that kind of sent us into this whole year where we kept up with as many people as possible, got it out there, got the word out there. But what we realized, I think one of the things that we realized is that not too many people talk about it. I think in our movement, I think there's some stigmas on it. And we want to open this up for talk about it, kind of how we process it. And then Josh Clark's here, number 1, because he's awesome. Number 2, he works here, so I didn't have to buy a plane ticket to get him out here.
Cheap and easy.
Cheap and easy. And number 3, he...
Cancer survivor.
Boom.
Check.
Okay, so before we get going, because we're going to just get into this, I wanted to say this. You are going to get offended probably at what we say. I've never run into more issues with people and theology than when it comes to healing, probably than anything else. That and like end times. Healing talks, healing messages, they all carry baggage based on people's experience.
Yep.
I am not saying that what we are saying is right or our experience is the way to go. And I know you wouldn't say that as well. We just want to bring you in through our experience. So you could disagree. You could have verses that disagree. You could have your own mindsets and ideas that disagree with what we talk about. But that's not the point. The point is to just share our journey. Maybe it'll help encourage some of you guys along your journey. So don't get upset. Relax. We have to have these places where we can talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to say? Do you want to give any warnings?
No, we're just going to share who we are and what we went through.
Well, everybody knows who you are. You're Musy Hart. You're my wife.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, try not to hit
Let's try
the
not to
microphone.
kill it.
Hot mic.
So, so we shared a little bit about Moose going through it. What did you go through? Why don't you tell people? It's pretty funny. It's not funny.
Yeah.
It is kind of funny, the stories around it.
Okay.
But it's actually horrible.
Yeah. So you just tell the story then.
Yeah. Why are you here?
All
Besides being Randy Clark's oldest son as well. And
That gets me in a lot of places.
it does.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of why you're here,
Yeah,
if I can be
for
honest.
sure. Right.
And kind of the namesake of our firstborn. Do you know that?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, why would you name another kid anything other than Joshua?
So our oldest is Josh, and we picked it. Do you remember how we picked it, babe? We were like, who are our friends?
Can
we
I
just
hear this
started.
story? I don't think I've
You've
actually
never heard
ever
this?
heard this story. So this is a nice
Really
little
cool story.
aside.
Okay, 3 seconds, and then I'm gonna quiet down.
30 seconds. Go ahead.
30 seconds. We're in Mozambique. Musy is a week from having the baby. We're about to go hear Chris Valentin speak at the Harvest School. So we are like, I told my wife, I said, we are not leaving here until we come up with a name. Like we can't, the baby can come tonight. You need to come up with a name. We were like, we weren't agreeing on anything, right? So we're sitting there, we're late for the meeting. We need to come up with a name. I said, who are friends that we like? Like who are friends that we have? And we started listing off, I don't know, Jamie Galloway and all these people. We were like, Jamie, no, definitely not. We won't call them Jamie. And we got to your name, Josh. And we were like, bang, Josh, do you like it? She's like, yes, I like it. I was like, I like it. Boom. We hopped in the truck. We drove out to the tent. It was this big tent. Chris Valentin is there speaking. he starts prophesying over people that are there. He goes, I only want to prophesy over missionaries. He goes, all the missionaries, the Irish missionaries stand up. So we were there, maybe 20 people were there. So we stand up, he calls out one person, then turns to my wife, calls out you, and he says, you just named your baby. Like,
come on.
This was, yeah, it was this, I legitimately, this one gave me tingles down my spine. He goes, you just named your baby. And the Lord says the name of your baby is going to be like the call that's on his life. It's a biblical name, isn't it? And we were like, yeah, it's Josh. And then he began to prophesy over Joshua. It was a cool thing. Fun story, naming.
Yeah.
It's a fun naming story. And you're involved in that.
Good choice.
So we like that.
Help.
Okay. So, yeah, fill us in. What happened?
Yeah, so my story is I was my wife and I had moved to Japan, and we were there kind of helping out doing some different things with different ministries over there. And, probably a couple months into what ended up being about a year trip, I started to notice some discomfort when I was putting on my pants. And I just thought, like, oh, I wear tight clothing, and these pants are just too tight. And maybe I've gained some weight, even though I'm eating nothing but rice and raw fish. But maybe that's what's happened. Maybe I've gained weight. And so I didn't think much of it. I just wore sweatpants for like,
Are you serious?
For the next 2 months. Like, okay. I just wore sweatpants, and it was fine. And then it just became more and more like severe and severe. And I'm just like, man, this really hurts. It was in the growing region. Because it was testicular cancer.
Boom.
Spoiler alert, it was testicular cancer. But so we go through the thing, and I was like, we're there. We don't have a real source of income, and we don't have insurance. So, I wasn't young, but I was still dumb. So we just like, well, we're going to stay here. And then, I don't know, hopefully just, it'll be okay. We'll just
go away.
Don't do what we did. Like, it makes no sense. It's not. I'm not advocating this or advising this, but we just whatever. And we didn't really think anything of it. I didn't really tell my wife the extent of the pain. I just kind of grimaced through it. And I don't necessarily take a lot showers regularly, so it wasn't like something that I had.
Is this something you want to admit?
Well, I mean, it's the truth.
I know
it's
that about you. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't something that I had to deal with on too often. So we finally come back. My wife and I. She gets pregnant, and we're like, okay, we got to come back and have the baby in the States. So we decided to move back. And coming back and getting a job, we got insurance. And my wife's like, you should probably go get that looked at. Now, there's really no reason not to. So I said, yeah, you're probably right. So I went to the doctor.
You're missing a huge part of the story. I don't know if you remember.
Go ahead.
So we're sitting in the Global Awakening office. I was working for Jeff at that time.
Jeffrey Myers.
Yeah. So I was
Director
with Jeff.
of Partner Events with Global Awakening.
Exactly. And so we were in Jeff's office.
Events and Partner Services.
And Josh comes in and he goes, hey, boys. Like, hey. And
this
Josh.
Yeah. Your Josh.
You and me and Jeff.
Yep.
Jeff and I were in the office. You came in.
Yeah.
You closed the door, which is odd, because when we went to private time, you're like, hey, does it hurt when y'all wear pants? Like, just dude question. You don't remember this?
No, I don't.
You stop.
I don't remember that. No, I don't.
You don't?
I believe it's true.
And so Josh and I were like, or Jeff and I were like, no. Like, I think you should probably get that looked at. Yeah. And it was I think it was in like 24, 48 hours.
It was probably, because I was like, well, yeah, apparently it doesn't hurt when guys wear pants. I confirmed that with my wife. And she was like,
nope.
Then you should go get that looked at. So I went and went to the doctor, and they, did the awkward thing. I mean, if you're a guy, I mean, you don't want that. But they're like, hey, I think it's probably this. He said it's typically, if it's not testicular cancer, it's what they call like an epididymal cyst or something like that. It's like, I think it's probably that. I'm going to give you some like antibiotics, but just to be sure, let's go ahead and have you have an ultrasound.
Okay.
Right. So I was like, well, what's involved in an ultrasound, doctor? And he's like, oh, well, this, someone, an ultrasound technician will come and they'll, do an ultrasound on the parts that we're talking about here. You know what I mean? And I said, oh, okay. So I went back and I said, hey, I got some antibiotics.
Right.
I don't need to go get the ultrasound right now. Let's do this antibiotics because I don't think I'm feeling really comfortable about this. So we did that for a while. It didn't really help. So I finally went like a week later and actually and actually did the ultrasound. Went in, nicest lady, more like a child. She was probably 19 years old, and it was so awkward and uncomfortable. But, we got a good selfie with it after the fact because it was like, whatever, She does the whole thing, and this is like 8 a.m. is the appointment. And I come into work, and probably like 10:30, the doctor calls. It's like, hey, can you and your wife come and meet me at my office this afternoon?
Okay, so you got the phone call, right?
Yeah.
And what's
it was
going to happen.
And so I call my wife, and I was like, yeah, whatever, we'll be there. So I call Tanya, it's my wife's name, and I'm like, hey, we got to go to the doctor this afternoon. I have cancer. And she's like, how do you know? And I was like, well, because why would the doctor call us like the same day to come in? And I was like, this can't be good.
Just time out for 1 second. So fear Like nervous? Like
No,
walk
not
us
at the
through what
time.
happened.
It's still so surreal, and it's like, and I'd spent so much time, like what ifing and WebMDing that like I feel like I was like I knew. For me, information is like power in the sense like as long as I know kind of like the possibilities and the different outcomes, I feel like okay, I can kind of manage this. So and it was just too surreal. So we go in there and the doctor.
Would you say you're the same way? You want info?
I don't know. I think like shocked at the beginning. What was
Yeah,
going
but did
on.
you want a lot of info? Did you want to like get as much information as you can?
No, the doctor said do not go online.
Yeah, that's what he told us.
Yeah.
Do not
So
go and
I
research.
didn't even look at anything for like a couple months, but yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So we went in and the doctor was like, he's our family doctor. He's no longer there. He retired, but he was a great guy. And he was like, and apparently I was being real, not flippant, but I was just like, it is what it is. And I was like making jokes. I was like, hey man, you did a great job. You know, it's a pleasure knowing you and all this stuff. He's like, Josh, Tanya will tell the story. She's like, no, he said, it's like, Josh, this is very serious. Like you need to get surgery like tonight. And like, it's like life or death. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, particularly because testicular cancer is very, very aggressive. And so because I had presentation basically a year ago, they were like, I mean, we know it's here. It very likely has spread throughout, and it's going to be a very big problem. So we need to go get it out now, test it, and then start doing all the other things that would go along with it. So we went in, had the surgery, and that was the most like, if I was scared at any point in the time, it's there when they cart you into the back, and you're all in like the
little
little
gown.
thing,
Yeah.
and I'm like, hey, right on my leg, like which one you're taking, and like, you know what I mean, like make sure we don't do the wrong one. But I was really kind of like nervous. I was like, I'm gonna go out right here, and I just had our firstborn Simeon. He was very young, and so there's a lot of those thoughts like, man, what if I don't wake up from this table? Like that was the one point where I was like kind of really scared. But you know, went
How
through
much time from the moment they told you that you needed to have surgery until the surgery?
less than 24 hours.
That's what
So you went in, they removed what needed to be removed.
Yeah, left radical orchiectomy.
Ooh,
They removed the left testicle.
Yeah, I think that's inferred from the talk, but yeah.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I just want to connect all the dots for the
Thank you
for the viewership.
for all
here.
the viewers out
Yeah,
there.
you know what I mean?
Did I mention this is Randy's son, oldest son? Okay, so somebody's phone. Oh,
that's
Moose.
Moose.
Why you got to do that, babe? Okay, so you got it done. Did you do anything after radiation, anything like that?
Yeah, I did radiation.
Okay, why didn't you juice? Like choose the juicing method, or did you?
So I mean, we did juice as well. I mean, so my mom is very holistic and homeopathic.
You're learning
so,
something about Randy's
so,
wife.
Right, she is very much on that spectrum.
Okay.
So which was really good. I'm very much on the other spectrum. So it was like,
Hold on, what spectrum is that? Explain to people.
I'm on the spectrum of like God gave us intellect and has revealed things, and through
good.
science and medicine, there are things that we can take benefit of. So doctors and medicine, I don't shy away or disregard them. I think they offer considerable value.
Okay.
So I definitely availed myself to all of the potential treatment options and researched and talked to all the different specialists, and I value their opinion highly. And I also think that there is, value to, homeopathic type stuff. What is considered homeopathic?
Right. That's a huge pool. You know,
Right.
there's a little bit of everything in that.
Right. So, I mean, I was doing some supplements and some juicing and raw foods, and I was doing anything I thought that could be good for me and not bad, while also not doing what the doctors told me.
Okay,
to do.
so we know who your dad is, right?
I think you said his name is Randy Clark.
I did. Awesome. So where did that fall into it? Did you get people being like, well, how did this happen? Your dad's one of the, foremost healer, guys in the ministry. That's what
I'm
he's
sure.
known for.
I don't know. I don't know if I didn't get that.
You didn't get any
people
of
didn't
that.
come up to me and question me. He might have got that. I mean, that's just something that happens with anyone who gets sick. I mean, John Wimber had a fabulous healing ministry. Had cancer. I mean, it's just.
It's through history.
Right. I mean, I'm so used to that. Like, this is just kind of the world we live in, and like this is the fight we have.
So
like, I'm not concerned.
I'm
about
just
it.
interested, and babe, you probably are you like, because one of the first people I called was Randy when we found out you were sick. Were you like, I got to call my dad? Like, honestly, like because you got to understand the perspective of everybody sitting there going, if I ever got sick,
Call Randy.
And I had
get it done.
access,
Get it
I had
taken care
access
of.
to Clark's inner chamber.
Right.
You know,
Right.
like.
Well, I mean, to be
That's it.
sure, I was doused in hands laid on me prayer
Okay.
from both my mom and my dad fairly regularly, as well as anyone else that was
Right.
available. Which, because of who he is, there was obviously a
Good
lot of
connection.
people. There was good connections. A lot of people who were available. So I was getting lots of prayer covering for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So that was what? How long ago?
A little over 5 years because I just got the full. You get checked up every 6 months until
5 years.
it's a little over 5 years.
Okay. And so, Moose, just in a nutshell, I know I did a little bit about a year ago. You got diagnosed, and fill people in. Tell what happened. How did it look like? What were the things that went through your head?
The funny thing though with us was as soon as my our last son was born, I developed this itchy skin, and so we all thought it was just like a hormonal thing, and
I did.
and so we have actually trying to figure out why I was so itchy for 2 years, and we've been trying to figure it out, and that was all part of Hodgkin's. So
Describe
actually,
itchy like.
like I would start itching anywhere, everywhere. And it
Was
was
there
just
a
like
rash or any kind of
nothing, no color, no nothing. And all the blood
You were
work,
just itchy.
just itchy.
We'd be like laying at night, and she'd be like, "Aren't you itchy? Is it these sheets?" Like she'd just be scratching everything.
anywhere,
For
everywhere.
2 years.
For 2 years.
And itchiness is a sign of
Hodgkin's.
It's like
Hodgkin's
one of the symptoms of Hodgkin's. Yeah.
wow.
But the scary thing for me was just like for those 2 years, every time they were doing blood work, everything was showing normal. Everything showed normal.
So you would go into dermatologists, try different ones, like try one, they'd give her cream, stuff like that. They blamed it on the pregnancy. They blamed it on like the changing of the seasons. Oh, it's spring. Oh, it's winter. Like.
And the first dermatologist I saw after a year and a half of that said, "Oh, it's just dry skin. Just put some lotion on it."
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, "This doesn't seem right." So I went to a
I was
dermatologist.
like, put some lotion on
Here's
that.
some
Quit your
Jergens.
whining.
Here's some Jergens. Be quiet.
I was like, go blonde that thing, babe. Yeah.
And the second doctor, as soon as he saw it, and as soon as he asked me a few questions, he said, "Okay, let's do an X-ray of the lungs." And I was like, "X-ray of
Well,
the
that escalated.
lungs?"
This is what
Quickly.
after 2 years. Hold on, no, this is after 2
After
years.
2 years. So I asked the doctor, I'm like, if I've had the symptoms for 2 years, how long you think at least I've had this? And he's like, at least for 3 years. And I was like,
Holy
Oh.
moly.
wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, your hand has been on top of this. Though it makes crazy sense because I've been trying to find answers for this, but it's so that was
It was a heavy day in the Hart household.
oh.
It was. So I'm sure everybody wants to hear from us like we were just invigorated with faith and boldness. And even though that was an aspect of it, because it's kind of what we're grounded in, what we're rooted in, we've been through worse. Like we've been through worse in whether it's in going into danger zones, like you were just in the DRC, you were just in the Congo 6 months prior, a couple months prior. We've been lost babies on the on the field in Mozambique. Like we've been around that stuff. This one hit in a totally different way.
area.
It just hit in a total different way. One that we were unexpected for.
Right.
But so I wanted to take a moment and see, and if you have anything about this, like just fill people in on that first kind of few days when we actually found out what it was, stage 4, all that stuff. I was with, I think I was in Australia with Heidi and Stacy when we found out.
Well, it was like different stages because they first called. We were getting on our way. We were going to have a date. And as we go out on a date, they call me back to say, "Okay, we have found 4 different growths on you. So there is definitely something there." So that was the first shock of the news. And
Right.
literally that night as we were like having dinner, I locked in pain, like almost passed out at the restaurant. So we had to go and had the Dr. Becker helped us. And as soon as
We know Dr. Becker, man. He's amazing.
Chiropractor.
Yeah,
chiropractor, he's
fantastic.
awesome.
Magic fingers.
He is.
So as soon as so what was going on was like the tumor was pressing on the chest area, and so it will pop the ribs were not staying in place. So it don't matter how long he will pop them back in, but because the tumor was putting pressure
Right.
in it, it would just pop the. So that was the pain.
How
that I
big was the
having.
tumor?
The tumor was like the size
Size of
my,
a fist.
of my
Yeah,
fist.
it was what, 6 inches or 6
I don't
inches by 6
remember. He
inches?
just-
It was huge.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
3 inches by 3 inches, 6
So-
centimeters by 6 centimeters, something like that.
And and then the second the thing after that was they did a first biopsy, and they, after 2 weeks of waiting, that first diagnosis was like, we have no diagnosis, we have to do a second biopsy.
Oh, come on.
And so the first, they did it over here, one of the growths, and then the second one, they went straight where the growth was. And so after waiting again another 2 weeks, so it took a whole month.
It was almost like a month and a half until we actually had the final
yeah,
diagnosis.
So which was crazy. And during that time, you're like, you know that something is wrong, but you didn't know what it was and what it was called. So, it was like a mix of everything, though, because the first thing, for me at least, it wasn't so much I'm like, I'm going to die or not. It was like, what? Like, what? And then I was just dealing with the pain because I was in so much pain. And then the doctor put me up on the narcotics. So I just glimpsed it and going through some of that. But it was just like, did this just happen? And, and then you still have to be dad and mom because the kids are still all around. And you're like,
and the kids know something's going on. The kids know that. I mean, yours was too young, but, the kid just in the house.
Maybe 1.5.
Like a year and a half?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it just like, and then, so dealing with that, but it wasn't so much, but it just makes you realize, as you're like, okay, if I'm gone, what have I done with my life? When it just makes you like review and like, okay, what do I want to put my energy on? What was my legacy that I want to live on? And it's I think if we all just take life for granted sometimes, and when you get put into some of these situations, you go, well, God, what did I needed to put my effort on? Right. And what will I want to put my effort on now that I got my first report? We still have a ways to go. Because like the first year, I think they do the test every 3 months or something like that. And then at the second year, I think they spread them a little bit more to figure out to make sure that things are still on the right track.
So a lot of people don't know this, but because as soon as we found out what was going on, I put it out, to get prayer. That was like my first response was like, okay, I got to get people praying. It was amazing because Dan Moeller. So Heidi was the first one I called when I found out. She was with me in Australia when we had an idea what was going on. And then when the definitive, this is what it is, I called Heidi. I think she might have been like the first or second, my parents, and then Heidi. I called and she started praying. And then I immediately, I didn't go to Randy. I called Randy eventually, but Dan Moeller. Do you know Dan? If you're unfamiliar with Dan, you need to check out his ministry. He's got a million. Ministries. Yeah, it's that's the name. It's awesome. So Todd White's spiritual father. I'm sure everybody watching knows who Todd White is.
Yeah. Incredible man.
And Dan is just like miracles, signs, and wonders. Immediately, Dan was the coolest guy. He drove to our house, sat in our living room, and preached at us for about 55 minutes. Just preached at us in like faith and fear and like who you are in Christ, and then like prayed for 5 minutes and then saddled on out. And
so good.
Just vintage Dan Moeller. I'm telling you, he has one of the most amazing ministries. So we started calling friends, we started calling doctors that we knew, and everybody was really amazing. But the percentage-wise, and I didn't ask for the percentage, but the percentage-wise, it was about 50-50 when we first found out.
Stage 4 lymphoma.
Yep, stage 4. It went south of her diaphragm, which is like bad. So it went into your kidney or liver or something like that, right?
The spleen was
the spleen. I'm sorry.
Spleen was completely covered, and
so it was bad. So for me, I don't want to just talk about sickness, right? Because we all know you came through it. You're through it. I want to know for these people watching, because I think for us there was nobody out there. So there was part of it was shame, right? Because I'm just going to be. Maybe you didn't feel it, but I felt it not from myself, right? But from people when they started talking. And I think a lot of Christians don't talk about their sickness, especially in the charismatic movement, healing movement, because they don't want to be looked at as not having enough faith, not being, spiritual, especially as ministers, right? It's very, you become very vulnerable when you start, posting these things. So it was the whole process of going through it, I think was really eye-opening to me.
Are you saying you experienced shame, or you just...
Shame isn't the right word. I didn't experience shame. No, like I will say this. I did have fear, not of death, right? Because my wife and I, we really have lived our lives. Like, I can honestly say we have lived our lives to where we don't care if we die, right? Like, I mean, we're not going to do it at our own hands, but we have put ourselves in situations. You might, Josh, this is a little heavy, no? We've put ourselves in situations where it's like, if we die, we die, right? Like that was our missionary upbringing. That was our missionary. Just 2 months prior, Musy was in the red zone in the DRC, like rebel territory.
Yep.
You know, like that's kind of where we've pointed our life. So fear of death isn't an issue. It's more, for me, what hit me was like, there's just so much information, you know, it's just so much, and fighting and standing on faith, right? Knowing who I am, knowing what I believe, knowing what God said about my wife, and also seeing this opposite report taking place in front of you. And then you start, I'm really confident in what I believe, but you just start getting the chatter, you know, like, oh, it must be sin. Oh, it must be this.
What?
You didn't have any of this?
No.
Oh, gosh. Oh, it must be.
Come
We'll
on.
talk about this. I have a whole list.
Come on.
No, this is going to be good. So a lot of people, they believe this, that like my wife is in great sin or I'm in sin.
If you do
That
this type of prayers.
my covering is broken over the household. That's why there must be rebellion in the house. That's why. And things start happening. So immediately we got a barrage of well-intended
People who are trying to problem solve for you.
but is absolutely just the most demonic, ridiculous stuff that people can think of. And a lot of it is because we try to figure this whole thing out. Like in the faith movement, in the healing movement, we try to figure out if it's not this, then it's this. And if you do this, then this happens. And so for faith, a lot of people, especially in the healing, when there's a sickness, then something must be wrong, right? Because God is good and the enemy's bad, and this is cancer, and the enemy comes to rob, steal, and destroy, and this is robbing, stealing, and destroying my wife. So where's the open door? I started getting stuff like, where's your open doors, you know? And we never had that conversation. I would never even send her any of those things. But you start getting this barrage of stuff, which you didn't get.
No.
No?
Well, yours was so fast too, though, Josh. Like it was like out of the blue. Oh, Josh had a surgery. Like what? When did it happen? And then
And you're like a superstar. I mean, you have like a Facebook following that rivals President Obama's. Last I checked.
Listen,
so I
it
mean,
happens.
Yeah, I don't have that. I have about 10 people that follow me.
Just go there.
2 of them are my mom's private accounts. So I do not have a lot of people who would speak those sort of things over me. So I think
It was
that's probably the difference.
crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
There was one point where I started a list just because I knew I'd be talking about it later, not because, you know, I was upset, but it was like I had a list of about 70 different things that if you do this, then your wife will be healed. If you blend this root from an Arab tree with an Inca tree, like legitimately, I'm not joking
That's
right
just
now.
people trying to be helpful, though.
If
So,
you
I mean,
rub this oil, well,
I'm patient with those.
Well,
I mean, that's just good.
I don't
intention.
mind the
Here's the thing.
holistic side.
No,
it's like
let's-
the fact that for me, it was like repent of all this different stuff that I was like,
my God,
I'm like,
the
you guys
list
don't
to
know
repent
what, you
of.
know. It was like,
Yeah.
you know, her Paraguayan roots need to be washed clean. Whatever. Like, there's all of this stuff that people think. And for me, all I see are people putting their faith in something that's not Jesus. Like, all I see is like, oh, if you drink this pill, or take this pill, or drink this juice, or rub this oil under your armpits 4 times a day, and diffuse this
Oil
thing.
pull.
Oil.
Just coconut oil pull.
Just I'm telling you, man, we got lists and lists and lists. And then we would share pictures of, you know, people, like we'd be eating dinner as a family or whatever, you know, and people be like, you can't eat that, that's killing your wife. If you put acid, that's acidic, that acid is what's caught, you know, like it was just crazy. So I know people are people. I've been in ministry long enough. And I don't let that stuff get to me, but I do think I would love to hear your opinions on that whole process of being inundated, rightfully so. We put it out there, right?
Yeah.
Right. But being inundated with all that stuff, the natural stuff, the YouTube videos. Oh man, even I got a new YouTube video thing yesterday. Somebody's like, watch this. Cancer, the cure for cancer is here, but it's being hidden. You know, and if you watch this video, you know,
What's the cure?
I don't remember.
Did you
I haven't watched
Watch
the
it
video.
now.
Watch the video.
No, but we got so much stuff. Tell me, what did you think about all that stuff?
no, I know there are certain things that definitely help, and it's just like common sense, you know. So, but just to pretend that that's the only key to it, I think it's like a little off balance. So it's like trying to find in the midst of, as you're processing all that, it's like, okay, then getting even at the beginning, we started really strong with the juicing at the same time that I was doing chemo.
So
And I was-
time consuming.
It
Can we
was.
just
I
talk
got
about
fatter.
the cleanup that's involved with juicing
got
and the
fat.
expense
Yes.
associated
Yes.
with juicing? Who has that kind of money?
Oh my God,
insanity.
We need to talk about finance in this whole thing too.
Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah,
But it was like, but and it was like finding the right time, because they were also like, okay, you don't want to straight do that as you're having chemo the same day or the day after. We give it a few days so that it will just help. And we did. I did the juicing but then as it got, at halfway the treatment, I had no more drive to do it. Like, I was so just drained, and I was just holding on to just be able to be there as a mom.
Right.
Than trying to go and choose. I just had nothing left inside of me to do it.
I was growing wheatgrass by the trayful.
Wheatgrass.
We did it. Like, we did it. We took the same stance, and this was our stance. Our stance was, we're going to do what we do best, which is the spiritual. We're going to gather as many of the generals as we can around us, and we're going to let the doctors do what they do best.
Yep.
And they are not separate from each other. God uses doctors. Doctors are used by God. We that's kind of the stance that we took from the beginning. We're going to do whatever they tell us to do.
Right.
For the most part.
I was going to say, like, as long as it makes sense to you and you feel peace
Right.
about that, that's what you need to do. Is you talk with your family, and that's what we did. Because I'm like, yeah, there are times that you got to pray for discernment and learn what to do.
And we did, like, along the way we would, but we took that stance. Like, we're going to do what the doctors tell us to do, and we're going to do what God tells us to do. And they aren't fighting each other. You know what I'm saying? Yep. They're working together. And we're going to do, like, the whole juicy vitamin, rub oil, diffuse things.
And
Chinese medicine.
All it did was make my room stinky. That's all it did.
Lavender.
If I
lavender
smell oil diffuse in my house
Thieves
again,
oil. We
I
did do
hate that stuff. Listen, I don't want to get any angry emails.
Right.
That stuff is nasty. I would wake up, Musy would be rubbing it on my heels. Like, I'd be sleeping because she knew I wouldn't.
He
It's
wouldn't
another
do it on
story.
his own. So I was like, okay, well, he sleeps.
Why does he need to have oil on his heels?
Listen, it's
Because at
Just
that
like a
moment,
solidarity thing. We're all going to do it together. We're going to rub oil on our
we're
heels.
going to be one
Yeah,
no matter
right.
what, even if you're asleep. No, the problem was my immune system was low.
Yeah.
So whenever he will travel, that he did a lot less, then he gets exposed to stuff, and then he can
hear
bring
you.
it home.
Right.
So it was like the matter of trying to protect, and the kids were going to school. So we were trying to just keep,
Right.
as clean as we could, and try to avoid and keep immune systems up high.
So we did 12 months, or no, I'm sorry, 6 months of chemo of chemo, and you did every other week.
For the most part,
And then we did 5. I'm saying you did this 5 weeks of radiation.
Oh, well, 17 days.
Okay.
So which is like 3.5 weeks or so.
And we thought we were going to do more. So immediately, right? So this news hits. I don't know how people that have this happen in their house with, like, normal jobs, I don't know how they do it.
That's right.
So the first thing was Randy and Tom found out. We had Randy praying for Moose and Deanne. Musy would go over to their house. Like, so we surrounded, but the coolest thing, and this is why I love Global. This is why I serve Randy. This is why I serve your dad. And is because he immediately said, don't worry about finance. Don't worry about anything. Global will take care of this. Like, Global will, like, foot the bill. Even though, I still went out and ministered, but it gave me the freedom to just cut off about 80% of my travel schedule. So I ended up staying home most of that.
That's awesome.
That year. I don't know how people
I don't know how they
who
do it.
don't have that ability to. I don't know how they do it. It was insane with 3 kids, a baby, and the 2 younger ones, and you coming home getting sick. Like, I just don't know how it happens. But
I remember the first time we came back from chemo. I said I did great that first day, and I think it was like a day and a half or so afterwards. I said to her, I think I just need to lay down. And I literally slept for like a day and a half, but I woke up for like little glimpses of like having to sit next to them dinner. Okay, I gotta go back, and I would just go and sleep.
Wow.
So I literally, and I was like, so the second time I just looked at him like, okay, it's starting. I'll see you in 2 days, but it wasn't that bad actually. I only slept for a few hours, but I was like out for like a day and a half, and just woke up, just wanted to see the kids, them coming back, and just preparing like. This was a huge walk for them as well, because I'm like the first time coming back.
Yeah, how old were they? I mean,
Well,
their
a
ages
year
at that
ago.
time?
So 8 and 7, 7, 8,
and a year.
1.
So I was fortunate. He was only 1.5. He was oblivious
No
to
clue.
it. But like,
Okay.
obviously now he's almost 7. So now if I went through what I went through before, there
would've
would be
been different.
conversations. He would know what's
Right.
going on. We need to
Oh, yeah.
explain it. Like
Right.
your kids, you sat them down together and did a family meeting,
No.
or they just sort of picked up on Facebook, like, Mom, you should be forgiving your grandfather, or how did they get involved? How did they process
You brought sin into the house.
Right, exactly.
Because I don't have any open doors. No.
No, we had to have some conversations that you really don't want to have with your kids. But
Here's the conversations, because people want to. So we sat them down, and we said, "Mom's sick, right? And it's serious." Like we decided we weren't gonna pull punches.
Sugarcoat anything.
No,
Just
no,
right.
because why am I gonna lie to my children? So that's those struggles, right? So Faith, I believe that Mom's gonna get healed.
Yep.
And I don't believe she's
Going to die.
She's gonna die, even though there are numbers that are saying that, and there are signs that can point that way, and not wanting to lie to my children. So we sat them down. We just were honest with them. We figured they're 8 and 9, or 7 and 8. They knew something was going on. Phone calls, people visiting. Dan Muller's at the house. Who's
preaching
this guy?
for an hour.
Yeah, he's like, he's amazing.
But I was in pain. I couldn't function anymore.
You were on painkillers. Let's just be honest. She wasn't making it
in
through the
bad
night
shape.
without Percocets, all that stuff.
And you were going to go through chemo, so it was going to be obvious
Right.
that
Yeah,
something's
something was
going
going
on.
We were praying for, like, she would wake up and writhing in pain. I'd be like praying in tongues over her, and nothing would happen. Like, nothing would happen. It would just get worse and worse and worse. And she finally, like, we just went to pills. I mean, you had to. The pain was so bad. So we sat the kids down, and we said, "Mom's really sick. Things are going to happen. You guys are going to realize that this is one of those times we got to soldier together. She's going to be, we believe."
Do you tell them cancer? Do you say the word?
No, not originally. Not
Not at the
originally.
beginning,
It took some time. We didn't want to hit it like hard with them all at once. And we notified the school.
Yeah, we talked to the
and
teachers.
we talked to the teacher, the counselor
of the school.
and whose husband was what do you call him? He's a cancer. He was an oncologist. So she immediately went into like research, asking her husband. She like jumped on board. It was amazing. I don't know if she was a believer or not. I don't remember, but just jumped on board with us. So that was cool. The whole community. I will say this, and we got to talk about this. I have a whole new respect for the body of Christ that I have never had in my entire life.
Right.
Like, I fell in love during this whole time with the body of Christ in a way that I definitely had never experienced. So we got the school involved, and so she would just kind of sit with the kids. How you doing? What's not making a big deal, but getting them involved in it. And then it was probably about 3 months into it. We said, okay, Mom's got cancer. Well, what's cancer? Okay, cancer. This is what it is. It's a sickness. Okay. And that's when I started having conversations with the kids. So I had one with Josh and with Bella. I was dropping Bella off at like a Sky Zone, this little trampoline place. So she gets out to go to this birthday party. Mom's at home, like sleeping. You just had chemo that day. Josh, he's my oldest. He's 7, or he's 8 at the time. We drop Bella off. We're alone in the car. He goes, "Dad, I got a question to ask you." And I'm like, "Okay, Josh, what is it, buddy?" He goes, and he just starts tearing up, and he goes, "His mom," and he didn't even, like, he was scared to say it. He was like, "Is Mom going to be," he's like, "That's not what I want to say." He's like, "Could Mom," and I know what he's trying to ask, but I want him to say it in his own words. And so he goes, "Is there a chance that Mom couldn't make it?" And I'm like sitting there driving in a parking lot going, how do you have this conversation with an 8-year-old kid? And at the same time not lie to him? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, right. I don't want to lie, because the reality is she could die. Right? Like, that is, like, I've lost I know we're having fun, but I've lost an aunt to cancer. My dad had cancer removed from it. Last year. Like, this isn't something that we're far from. And we, just being in ministry, praying for sick, we see people pass away all the time. We had one of our good friends that was a missionary in Mozambique with us there. When Josh was born, just passed away. So this isn't something that we're withdrawn from. And so he just goes, "Dad, could she die?" And I said, "You know what, Josh? Yeah, she can. She can." And you could see him getting tear up. But I said, "Josh, I want to tell you something." I said, "We can all die at any time." And I don't know
and
if
then
this
he starts
is
crying a lot more.
I was like, I tried to explain it to him, like we could get in this car accident right here. So we were driving around. I said, we could pull out, somebody can hit us. I was like, any of us can die at any time. And I said, and he was just kind of taking in it. I said, "But Josh, your dad," I said, "all those kids at school that have like dads that are like lawyers, or they work jobs," and I said, "They're all really good at what they do." I said, here's the coolest thing. I said, "Your dad is like one of the best in the world at praying for the sick." I don't know, I'm not, and but it's just this is my 8-year-old son. I said, your dad's a superhero.
You can hype yourself up to your son. I mean, that's a given. You're supposed to be able to do that.
He's like, really? No, he's like, I'm like, your dad's one of the best in the world
Yeah.
at praying for the sick. I said, so dad's gonna do what he does best, and we're gonna trust Jesus to do what he does best, and we're gonna trust the doctors, and I think your mom's gonna be just fine. And he just, as soon as I said that your dad's gonna do it, he just started bawling. And it was great. It was like as soon as it was out there, like I was so scared to have that conversation. I don't know if you had the same one with Bella, because I think you talked to Bella, but
I talked with Josh too.
And as soon as that conversation, it was like, okay. I said, and I just made it a family ordeal. I said, this is where we're at, and so we're gonna do this. We're gonna do. It's gonna be hard. We're gonna do it. Y'all need to have good attitudes. Y'all need patience, and we just took the whole time and changed the way we did life. My mom ended up coming in. She was coming in and out. We had friends. Here's what I want to say about the body of Christ, okay? I've served the body. I love the body because I have to, right? In ministry. Mm-hmm. I love the body. I've never appreciated them as much as we have until this happened. We've been part of a local church for a few years at this point. They rallied around us. Meals, it was spectacular how people jumped right in. People with cancer don't want pasta meals, though. I just want to say that out there. Don't make anybody pasta.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, we got pasta a lot.
A lot of pasta.
A lot of pasta.
Quick and easy.
Carbs.
It is
So
quick and
just
easy.
a lot.
But then the problem is everybody thinks quick and easy, and then you
Yeah.
have a week of pasta, 2 weeks of pasta.
I think it
3
was
weeks of
95%
pasta.
of the time people made us pasta.
How much weight did you gain?
I legitimately put on 15 pounds. I'm not joking. I put on 15 pounds
He wanted to
With
feel
Musy.
the same. Yeah, he
when
wanted.
Musy got sick. Yeah, it was bad.
Oh man.
Let's not talk about that though, because they're gone. I took them off,
And then some.
and then some.
Testify.
No, testify. So we just fell in love with the body again, and for me it was like, this is what the church is for. I mean, the church is for a lot of things, but when people are going south, and we're still alive and doing this because of those random people that would send us $25 checks, send us $100 checks. We had people from they wouldn't even put return addresses on them, just sending us checks, sending us cash, sending us gift cards. It was amazing. It was so cool to see that, and still we didn't have to ask for anything from anybody, and just the body rallied around us. So listen, if you got somebody, going through something like that at your church, just cut them checks left and right. They need it. I mean, I've been trying to do the math. I think we spent an extra $25,000 this year related to the sickness. $25,000. I can't believe. And we have amazing health insurance here at Global Awakening. But because she got sick at the end of the year, we paid her full out, and then we got it's just crazy. But then all the other stuff that's around it, juicing and all that stuff, like and God did it. Like people just poured money in left and right.
Cool.
It was really cool. And then Randy and Tom, they were like, you don't have to minister well. Like do it. Don't not minister because you just want to take the time off. But if that's a worry, don't let that worry you. And it was spectacular. That's what I love about your dad, man.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy. I like him a lot.
He once told me he's really good at what he does too. And I believe him.
Did you cry? Did you cry when
I still believe him.
Yeah, he actually is pretty good at what he does.
He's pretty spectacular at what he does.
I appreciate him. Yeah. So, what do you think?
Well, I do want to just mention something for me at least. One of the interesting things have been just in the midst of all this is to lay everything down as you're choosing to battle as well, and knowing how to do that and when to do it. Because as you lay everything down before the Lord, then you need the physical, and the emotional, mental, I guess, to just keep punching and keep going to appointments and keep driving and keep being a mom and keep being. So that was something to juggle, definitely. And so I want to just encourage everyone that still is going through it. Don't. It's normal if you do feel that way. That one part you feel how does this even emotionally or mentally, and it's normal to just feel it's just all a mix of crazy, good, tired but excited all in one same bundle, if somehow it makes sense.
Right.
Or some days better than others. Some days are worse. You wake up and you don't quite feel as
Oh yeah,
motivated or in faith. And
yeah, thanks for saying that. Actually, there were days at the beginning, especially
Charlie
the
Rose
treatment.
over here.
At the beginning of the treatment, that there were moments that I just wanted to. I literally would put the blanket over me and just pray in tongues to be able to get myself out of bed.
Yeah.
And the more I've talked to other people that have done chemo, they say that that's how they feel. Like it's just the drugs that it just like completely just takes you out to this like weird, almost deadly place that you just have to literally choose and push and choose and push to choose life when there's nothing inside of you wanting to do that. And I had to literally, there were times that I literally had the blanket over me and just praying in tongues to be able to get out of there for like a while.
Was God talking to you during those times?
He was, and there were moments that they were just like, God, I just need you to say one word of what you think of me. And I would literally just go before the Lord and just say, please tell me something that you say about me. And he would just say, you're beautiful, or you are strong. And it just one word that I'll be able to just hold just that day when I needed it. And so it was just awesome to see that whenever you just go to him to whatever you need, he really does come through. And sometimes it doesn't come the way that you wanted it to come, but it still comes. And you just have to just wait and hold on in there.
It was weird. I heard nothing from God
for that whole season.
I mean, very, very rarely did I hear anything, and that's kind of the way that it is. So, like everybody out there that hear all these stories, they think, we must be audibly talking to him all day long, and he must, like, I didn't feel like God was incredibly close personally to me during this time, but I watched the lead up to the thing. So, can I share what happened leading up to this? You might like this.
We can edit it out.
We can.
Yeah. Okay, what is
you
that?
should,
I'm
though,
trying
because this
to.
is spectacular.
Yeah, we'll edit it in post.
This is good podcast stuff. So, I don't know. Musy and I weren't doing well in our marriage, right? Yeah, we weren't doing well.
Before or during the process?
Before.
Oh, okay.
During, she can't complain, man. Like, I'm a winner chicken dinner.
Right.
Listen,
Yes.
I did really good during this
You
time.
did.
I don't know if I should admit that. I feel good about it. No, you know what? The Lord did tell me one thing, like very, very clearly. He said, you have to do this well. If you don't do this well, then you're basically not going to be in ministry much longer. Like I came at this whole season with a conviction of, I have to do this thing, this season with my wife well, put ministry on the side, and just devote myself to my family. And so I did do that. What was I saying?
Beforehand, you guys were struggling.
So we were
somewhat.
struggling. So it wasn't, there was, nothing crazy. No sin. It's just hearts. She was having a hard time with the amount I was traveling. She was having a hard time with I don't know.
Just
Whether it's worth it.
personalities or just like
let's
our
not talk
own
about that. My personality is fantastic.
Right. You're really good. You're really good at what you do.
And
So
he's
good. Hold
perfect
on.
all the way.
Right.
My personality is fantastic. People wanna have my personality.
People have tuned in for this
Fantastic.
personality.
No, listen, that's why they're tuning in. So we kind of got to this place where we were like, we're at an impasse, right? That's marriages. They get there. And so I said, I'm not going to become a statistic. We're going out to
So it was
work.
it was quasi serious when
No,
I mean, it would
yes
never
and no.
happen.
It was,
it's like a Will Smith
listen,
scenario. Divorce is not an option,
No,
so it
no,
would never happen.
no,
but
no.
like it was serious
No.
enough that you're like, we need to get some.
It was serious enough to go like, we can't.
Do this
We
on
have
our
to
own.
change something.
Yep.
We have to change something. And what we've been doing with little counselors here and there, wisdom books and all that stuff, that's not working. So through God encounters, pastors like, man, this place saved my marriage. We go out to Colorado. I fly Moose out and myself to Colorado. It's on my Facebook. We said it was vacation, but we were really out there getting our butts kicked by this guy. My butt kicked mostly.
Was this a secular counselor?
This was a
No, it's a
Christian
Christian.
counselor, but more like focused on the family. More like not, yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know what it means until you give me.
okay,
fill
so
it with details.
a little bit. There wasn't like inner healing. What inner healing? What like vows and what
Right.
heart and hearts. Like it was more just like, okay, you need to communicate. It was just kind of like foundation stones.
Sure.
So we sat there for 2 weeks. This guy yelled at me for about 2 weeks. I yelled back at him because I figured
he
I'm
literally
paying
yelled
him.
at you.
Yes, more than one time. He called me emotionally retarded.
Whoa.
I made John laugh over there. The camera John.
Producer laughing.
Camera John is laughing. He called me emotionally retarded.
Wow.
Yeah, strong
Was this
words.
in an open session or just like a closed session?
No, this was
between the
closed.
two
Two
of you?
people, and then we had like group sessions with a
Right.
couple other families that were there. Yeah. And every so often I get angry, I'd storm out and sit in the.
You got angry and stormed out.
It happened more than once. More than once. And I said some things to him that I probably should, and I apologize for. Listen, whatever. Counseling
I think we
is
need
the
him
worst.
on the next podcast. I think he would be
He was a
good
very interesting man.
global
Let
greener.
me just tell you, I go in, I want to get stuff done. I'm a mover and a shaker.
Yeah.
He would sit back, he would drink hot water. Who drinks hot water all day long? And he would tell me about how many bowel movements he had in a day. Mm-hmm. And he would tell me about his walking schedule and how everybody needs to walk and how walking clears everything out. And he would sit there and lean back in his chair, and he put his foot up on a basketball, like a semi-deflated basketball, for 2 weeks. And I just wanted to wring his little basketball leaning on neck.
Okay.
As he would tell me how bad I was. Yeah. Anyway, there's a reason why we went out there.
Yeah.
And so we did 2 weeks. We go after this. Are you okay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of 2 weeks, like we came back home.
Success.
What?
Success? Successful
of
trip?
course. Look at this. Bang. Look at that.
Well,
Success.
obviously, yeah.
There was a lot of
Tools. He gave you tools.
Tools
Tools.
and realization.
And I would call him one. I'd be like,
Wow.
you're a jerk.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I don't like your tools. And this doesn't work in the real world. And nobody talks like this. Nobody acts like this. He had like graphs he would put on the floor. And he'd be like, you tell him something. And then you say, wow, I've never thought of it that way. And I'm like, nobody talks like that. I don't talk like that. And if you think that we're going to talk like that alone, you're crazy. And that's when he called me emotionally retarded.
Are we bleeping out that word? But I'm not sure. We'll have to do like a
No,
a
I'm not.
survey.
It's
just
what
to
he
see.
said to
It
me.
is a direct quote, so it's
From
probably
a Christian counselor.
It's probably okay. But
You're
not,
the lawyer.
Not
Josh,
okay.
Josh Clark is the lawyer, by
Not
the
okay.
way.
I would probably.
Yeah. But was it awkward for you? I mean, we've heard his side of the story. Did you think, yeah, this is a little weird, over the top? Or you're like, oh no, he's right on the money here. This is.
Well, there were. Will has no problem telling you what he thinks and with his intensity. So he got somebody to tell him with his same intensity, and so I think
He
it
matched
was,
his.
No,
it
he didn't.
was-
Nobody can match this. No. Let's
So
just
I
be
think
honest.
it was
Let's talk
interesting
about
to
this.
see it with somebody that we have never met to just go strong like that. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. And
Is my
intense.
face red?
not
My
at all.
ears are hot all of
look
a
good.
sudden.
You look good.
I feel so warm in here now. Yeah.
I love.
Why are we talking about this? All that being said,
I'm waiting.
All that being said, we go for 2 weeks of intensive counseling. We're home 3 weeks, and then bang, we get hit with probably the toughest time our marriage has ever gone through. So, like, even leading up to this, I know for a fact if we hadn't done that or faced that in whatever scenario God would have done it, he had it in with that counselor. If we hadn't have done that, going into that time of cancer, we would have imploded. It would not have been pretty. So when I was talking about what did God talk to me during those times, like those setups, those God setups were out of this world, just out of this world. And I can look back now and say, oh my God, he knew exactly what he wasn't audibly saying, go here, do this, try this,
Right.
drink this potion, like whatever, go to South America. Somebody wanted me to go to South America, take my wife to South America and like send her on a vision quest.
Wow, through the
Ayahuasca. Somebody wanted
Really?
to, yeah, shaman stuff. This is
Wow.
crazy. It's
Wow.
crazy. So God did speak to us. I think looking back after the fact, I've definitely seen it. But did we get a lot of the audible? No. I felt very pulled back. But like, isn't that the way that it usually is?
Right. I did at the beginning though. After getting some prayer, though, I felt like I don't know. Maybe it was January. I was just spending time with the Lord. That there were a few things that He told me, and one of them was like, it's not going to be a one man's prayer.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, don't we work for a ministry that works? And I was just like, God, that makes absolutely no sense. And I was like, okay. And I just felt like God said, is you before me and the body lifting you up.
Yeah. And that's what it
And-
was.
really cool.
And that was, so it gave me so much just peace to just, instead of going hunting for prayers. And I know God has done that with other people, but I just felt like, okay, this is my journey. And my journey doesn't need to look like anybody else. And I just need to just lay it before the Lord and persevere before the Lord for what He has for me. So
I probably had about 30 different text emails from people that we know, people that we love, people that we care about, that were like, the Lord told me if I come, then she will be healed. and pray for. Like maybe not 30, maybe 15.
What do you say to those?
I said no.
You say don't come.
No. Why?
Some of these random people, I don't even know that we knew some of them.
I mean, there was a chunk that we didn't know. So of course, no way you could be a Looney Tune. But even people that we did know, like there's about 5 that I have a relationship with, know these people, spend time at their house, spend time with them, that I was just like, no, because not because we didn't like them or trust them or they weren't. It's just anybody that wanted to have their hand on claiming this thing, like this is Musy's gonna get healed through my prayer. Mm-hmm. If there's any of that in there, I just didn't have time for it. So we would ask people to pray for my wife. And God did amazing things along the way, but it was amazing how people wanted to lay claim to it, or like their group laid claim to it, it was weird. We did find that, like, it did happen.
It did happen, but that's what I'm saying. I just loved when the Lord said it's not going to be one man's prayer, and it just I forgot about that part, but it makes so much sense because I was like, and I really, really can't say, I'm like, I feel like it has been. The big part has been like the body lifting us up, because I felt like we had prayer 24/7. I kid you not, because we had one point somebody posted, "Can you tell Musy where you're praying from?" And they were like people from Australia, from Europe, from Africa, and I'm like, I don't even know half of these people, and I just felt so humbled and honored that God would just have constant, that He will wake up people, have them to just go 24/7 to just lift us up in prayer. And one of the interesting things with I didn't throw up once.
Oh, that's really good.
Not that I did not grab the bucket a few times and as I'm praying in tongues and grabbing the bucket, but I did not. And I'm like, they say that normally that's not quite normal. So I'm
Should we tell them the word about David Wagner?
Oh yeah, you should.
Yeah, I think it's cool. You'll like
Dave
this.
Wagner, who was formerly
Dave Wagner,
on the podcast.
who was on the podcast. I'm
Yes.
going to say a few weeks prior. Yeah. Dave Wagner, he was one of the first prophetic guys that I let know, and he didn't respond to me for a couple days. Like, he just didn't get back to me. I said, bro, pray for me. He's, we're friends, so pray for me. Let me know if you hear anything. Like, that's what I texted him. And so 2 days went by, didn't respond. Then I get this long text from him. And it was basically like, she's not going to die. So this was early on. This was that, I held on to that word more than probably anything else. I mean, my own faith, my own heart, sure. But I know Dave, and I know he wouldn't just write that. And then when he did text me, I called him up. I was like, bro, listen to me right now, and I love you. I don't care how you answer this question. I said, did you hear God on this, or is this just an encouraging prayer, prophesying those things that are not as though they are?
Right.
I respect them both,
sure.
But I want to know how he goes, I feel the Lord told me this very strongly.
Wow.
And it took me 3 days till I got the courage to actually write it to you.
Right.
So the word was, your wife will live, will not die. She will minister to the staff and the people at the hospital, which we've done. It was amazing. I won't go into all that stuff. And then he said, she will not lose her hair. Like that. And like for chemo, that was huge.
Oh, that was massive.
Huge deal.
And I thought actually I was going to.
All the signs were pointing to.
You did not.
All the signs were pointing to Musy losing her hair.
That's
like
amazing.
her hair was coming out.
Oh, it was thinning out. You could totally see this, and so I was getting close. I'm like, okay, it's going to be time to like.
That was the hardest thing.
For
you.
Really,
In my opinion, like, it wasn't the radiation, it wasn't the kids, or it wasn't. It was like the fact that her hair was coming out. You said it's an outward sign of what's going on internally, so you can't hide it. Like, you can't go out on the street.
Oh yeah,
and hide the fact that you're sick.
Well, it was also, there's more to it. There is that part, like, you feel like, because everybody's, it literally, your hair, you feel like it's your glory. And it's like another thing that gets taken away from you.
Yeah.
And it's just, anyway. So it just rips your femininity, or whatever.
Femininity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Out of you. And it's like without permission. But anyway,
Femininity.
That's a fun word to say.
Is it? Is that a real word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Femininity?
Of course it is.
Thank you.
Don't listen to him. Of course it is.
It sounds good.
Your English is spectacular.
Yeah.
Thank you.
By the way. Let's
So,
just give her props
but we
for that.
pray-
She speaks 5 languages. Do you know that?
Uh-huh.
I bet
I
your
don't
wife
anymore.
doesn't speak 5 languages.
No.
But no, I don't
She
speak
speaks all 5 love languages.
Really?
That's what she speaks.
Yeah.
She does. She's
Tell her
amazing.
To teach me to speak those languages. Hold on. So Dave Wagner gave this word. He's like, your hair will not fall out. And
You're not gonna be completely like
that was no. He said he said you will not lose all your hair. That's
Okay.
that's the
I
word.
remember.
And so I hung on to that because that is a physical
Right,
word
manifestation.
that I can see whether
Yeah,
his
you can
word's
track that.
accurate or not.
You can track that.
So so her hair is coming out. Like her hair is coming out in droves, and she took it down, to like shoulder and then like ears and then like super short. And I was
Very
like,
cute, by the way.
I
Very
was
cute.
like, I think she looks
Very
fantastic.
trendy.
And then it was literally like a week before your hair was gonna come out entirely. Maybe 2 weeks
2 weeks or so, but it was
before she was gonna lose everything. She goes in. The doctor's like, "You're not responding well to this medication because chemo is four drugs.
for this type of
This type that we had is 4 drugs combined." And they're like, "You're not responding well to one of these 4 drugs that we're giving you. We're going to take you off of it." And it was the drug that causes hair to come out.
Oh, wow.
So like immediately, like literally immediately, her hair started to grow back, and she never lost her hair.
That's amazing.
And for me, that was like God could have walked in the room and said, "It's going to be good," and it would have been the same to me.
Yeah,
It really
was
would have.
pre- it was
Like it
pretty
really would have.
awesome.
Like that was one of those God times.
Confirming
but
the word.
it came through another prophetic word. It wasn't. It
That's
didn't
awesome.
come, through me. So how cool is that? I mean, you get the body. That's what they're there for, man. To
Yeah.
minister to us. We minister to the body. Like we've given our lives to minister to the body, right? And it feels so good when they surround us when we're weak and they minister to us. Yeah.
Can we take a break real quick?
Do you need to go? Yeah. Take a
No,
break.
what time is it?
It's time for you to maybe take a break. We still have a little bit of time left.
I'll be right back. I
Yeah,
just
go
need to
for it.
call my wife.
We're gonna talk.
Oh.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tanya is his wife, by the way. She's amazing.
She's amazing.
And Musy and Tanya, are we? Hey, John, do you mind if we just keep going? Is that okay? So Musy and Tanya met years ago before they were married to Josh.
right.
Okay. And because Tanya came down to Paraguay, and I wasn't there on that trip,
No, you weren't.
but Tanya came down to Paraguay. They got married. So Tanya is Rex and Lois Berger's daughter, and she married Josh. So Rex and Lois, if you don't know them, they were itinerants for Randy for years. Amazing people, amazing powerhouses. They're spectacular. Well, Josh has stepped away, and we're gonna end here. I wanted to show you guys a couple of things. I asked Bookstore Bob moments ago, right before we started this, if he can put a discount on one of these, and he did. He said the Power to Heal. I know we're talking a lot about just the natural stuff, the stuff we've been going through, but our whole foundation is on God heals all sickness, all disease. That's not a doubt in our mind. More than anything else, we just wanted to bring you into our story and some of the struggle that we went through that you don't really hear about from the pulpit. But our foundation is strong. Our belief is strong that God wants to heal everything at all times, no matter what, and we will fight till the end. So Randy, this ministry, Global Awakening, is one of the greatest ministries on the planet that moves in healing, that talks about healing, that teaches on healing. And Randy has a myriad of books on the subject. I haven't read this one. I don't want to lie to you guys. I haven't read this one because Randy comes out with new books all the time. Have you read this one, Josh Clark, The Power to Heal?
Yep.
You did?
Yep. That's
It's his newest one.
manuscript.
It's his newest one.
So I'm not sure what the final edits look like, but when it was in.
But this is great. Bookstore Bob said 20% off.
Oh, Bookstore. Shout out to Bookstore Bob. What
I
a
did
great-
when you
what a
talk.
great guy.
Bookstore Bob said 20% off. So go to globalawakening.com. Enter in the promo code. What was it? Green. Yeah. I think we're gonna stick with green. Do you like that? Do you like the name Global Green Room? We're still settling on it.
It's good.
I don't really care what you think.
Yeah,
Actually.
thank
No.
you. I didn't think you did. I didn't think you did.
So Green Room, we're gonna do promo code Green. Put that in, and you'll get 20% off in the Global Bookstore. And that's Power to Heal: Keys to Activating God's Power in Your Life. There's some other good ones which I do know and I have read. Essential Guide to Healing: Equipping All Christians to Pray for the Sick. This is Bill Johnson and Randy Clark. This is
Fabulous.
ridiculously good. It's basically a conversation between Randy and Bill, two of the greatest ministers in healing. Just going back and forth, answering questions. I know that you guys have a million questions. Well, why didn't God heal you? I don't know. We can't answer that. I don't know. When I get to heaven, I'm going to have him, I got a laundry list of stuff that I want to know why. But you have two guys that have been around this a lot longer than we have, that understand a lot better theology than I have. And they will, these books are keys in really helping you go further. If you want to go further in healing, I take the stance on, I let him do what he does best, and I try to do whatever he says in the middle of it, right? And so, but these books are great. There's a couple more that I grabbed, which ridiculously good. Healing is in the Atonement. This is one of my favorite teachings of your dad. He did this on the Atonement, taking communion, and how healing comes. Physical healing can come.
And the power of the Lord's Supper.
That's on there too.
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
And the power of the Lord's Supper, how it comes when you can actually take communion. Biblical basis for healing. These are small little booklets. Randy's got a ton of them. They're super cheap. They're amazing.
Easy, quick reads. They're nice.
Super quick reads. A biblical basis for healing. This is that background, just that biblical background in healing for today. And a lot of people, if you don't know that, healing is for today. And it is in the Atonement.
News at 11. Shocker. Yeah.
And probably my favorite one, and I shout this thing from the rooftops all over the world. This is one of my favorite teachings by your dad.
I love it.
Isn't it great? The thrill of victory, agony of defeat. This is what you do when you don't see the fruition of what you know to be true coming to pass. So in healing, I see more people get out of healing ministry when something like that happens. Like they don't get healed or their loved one doesn't get healed. And so they create their theology around their experience.
And their lack. And exactly.
Yeah. And this is what do you do when you don't see truth happening? Because it happens. It happens in ministry. We don't understand it. But this book is gold. So make sure you get that. Go to the global bookstore and get that book, The Last Power to Heal, and put in the promo code GREEN, and you can get those. There's also I wasn't planning on talking about this, but if you want to go deeper in healing, there's healing schools we do all over the world, all over the States. You can go to globalawakening.com, find out the healing schools, and also we have programs on going deeper into healing. Because one of the things that I saw and Randy has seen and he's talked about is when we were in the hospital, they don't let lay people go in and pray. And so Randy's developed a curriculum that will get you certified in healing, and you can go into hospitals and take the certification that you've got here, go in and pray for the sick. It's awesome. I don't know any ministries better in moving in healing, impartation for healing, than this one.
And equipping the body.
Equipping the body. Yeah, this is what we live for. And so make sure you go and check that stuff out. And if you want to, the school, what's it called again? The
CHCP?
Christian Healing
Certification
Program. So go online and check those out. Just real quick, Josh.
Yes, sir.
Is your wife okay? Is she okay
is.
with you coming home late?
She is now. She was going to be caught unawares had I not called her, but now she's all fine.
You're a good husband, man. Now you don't have to go to counseling in Colorado.
We actually did that. Funny story. I mean,
you did?
We did that. We were married young, my wife and I. I can't remember how young.
Super young. Do you know that I met your wife before you were married?
Yeah.
And somebody was trying to set me up with her?
Yeah.
I won't tell you that story.
I did know that, actually. But we did a very similar thing. We went away to Toronto for a week.
You're just lucky that I wasn't there.
What did you think of?
Well, it was different stream. I'm choosing. Musy and I are both choosing to ignore this whole little monologue that's going on here about my wife.
Green Room. We've been talking about my wife.
Yeah.
No.
It was good. It was a different stream. It was affiliated with Toronto Airport Christian Fellowship, but we went out and we weren't having marital difficulties that arise, particularly when you get married young and you're still growing and learning and whatnot.
Oh, it doesn't happen when you get older?
It might happen older as well. Hopefully we've developed tools to handle some of the stuff that it's not an issue anymore. But we went out and we were young. We were married very young, and then when we went out, we were still young and didn't have very much money. So we actually
young 17, 18. I think
she was just turned 18 and had just graduated high school.
That's young.
So yeah, I have a daughter. I have 3 children. One of them is a daughter. I don't know what Rex is Tanya's dad's name. I'm amazed. I'm obviously like Will. I'm an awesome dude. Like I'm really good at what I do.
I agree with that entirely.
I'm really cool. So like maybe I'd think differently if I were in his shoes because of how awesome I am. But I can't imagine any guy being so awesome that I would willingly let my daughter at like 17, 18 years old be married. And I was just like, to him, I was just like, oh, I don't know. But
especially to your boss's boss's son.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
But so we went out there. I can't even remember how old we were. We were early 20s, maybe 23, 24, maybe somewhere in there. Didn't have any money, so we drove there, did a week course, which took all of our money to pay for the course, and then we just slept in our car, and we got a membership to there's a gym, a health spa that was right next to TAC F, and we got a weekly membership there so we could go in and take showers.
You think like
talk about
Randy
being
Clark's
committed.
son could get maybe a free hotel room up at TACF?
Maybe you would
up
think
at the Toronto. No, they wouldn't do
was
it.
good, though.
They wouldn't splurge on you.
It was really good.
Wow.
You guys are awesome. You troopers.
So you went through it. How did it
great.
turn out?
Great.
Yeah, ours was awful,
Yeah, I heard that.
but it turned out good. Yeah. Just real quick before we close up, Josh, you have anything else you want to say about cancer? Maybe. Okay, so talk to somebody who is they're facing this, or someone in their family has it. Encourage them. We found on more than one occasion, we have actually had it happen a couple of times during this, how people were not coming out and telling their spouses that they had cancer. They weren't telling, because in fear they were standing on faith while the thing was getting bigger in their body.
Yeah.
And it's happened more than once.
Yeah, and it's not even
over the time.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I just had a friend, interestingly enough, tell me about a week ago that their uncle just died of cancer, and he had
Nobody knew.
terminal cancer, and no one knew. He didn't tell anybody. He was not, unfortunately, not a Christian or a believer. He just didn't tell anybody, and for whatever fear, whatever the reasons are, just decided not to avail himself to what you experience and what I experience as well, which is the community of believers. For us is one that's important. You have to have yourself people who are rally around you, because you will be times when you don't have the strength, or you don't feel encouraged, and you need those people there to be like, no, hey man, we can do this together. We're going to soldier through it together, within balance, because there are also times you're just like, hey, just leave me alone with my family.
Yeah.
So I do think that's a critical component, is like, get connected, stay connected, don't be afraid to share your struggles. I mean, the Psalms are littered with David just crying out and being like, hey, I'm frustrated right now. So like, there are times when like I never thought or blamed God for what was going on. Like I that was one, and I know, and so like, can't share any on that aspect. I know there are people who are just like, man, this must be God's doing. I've never had that particular theology. Like, I always feel fairly confident that the source of my pain, the source of my sickness is in Satan, the evil one, and demonic powers and principalities and things like that. So I always know that I'm not looking at God as the cause of this. So I never struggle with that. And maybe there were times that you thought, and you could maybe speak to people who experienced that. I'm not sure. But for me, it was all just about, praising even in the midst of the, he inhabits the praises of his people. I was running worship like nonstop. I was running Christine DeMarco's Praise the Lord nonstop. And I was just trying to just constantly give thanks, even in the midst of being like, man, I am sick. I don't feel well. I'm a little concerned that I might not make it. I have a 1.5-year-old. I don't want to leave them, fatherless. Like, these are things that are just going through my mind, if I'm just being honest. And I even started writing stuff down. I was like, listen, in the event that I don't make this, like, I want to have something that basically, I don't want them to have skewed, contaminated perception of the will of the Father, right? Because even what you were saying, like, I was just here, just before we started this podcast, I was looking something up on an old sermon that Bill taught about for trying to get something else that I'm writing, and I just happened to stumble across, like, the number one hit on this Google is some kid who was like, how I got saved from the cult of Bethel or whatever. And I read it, and you read the whole story, and I'm just like, my heart's grieving or whatever. And then you get to it, and it's just like, there's this 2-year-old kid. It's like, this was the moment. This was the tipping point for him. There was this 2-year-old kid who died of cancer, and he doesn't understand. He can't reconcile the fact that this kid died of cancer, and I don't understand why God, who's all powerful, all knowing, why he wouldn't have healed him. And so this whole thing now is just all bunk, and I'm out of here. And he's like, so I was like, I got to write this guy an email and just encourage him and whatnot. But like, it happened. It's real. It's like, we experience these things. And so I'm just wanted to make sure that and that's exactly why I love this.
But this book
that's why I love
is the best message on that, on how you deal with that. So I'm not, like I said,
thrill of victory, agony of defeat. It's phenomenal.
It's one of the best messages I've ever heard your dad preach.
Absolutely.
Ever. And I think that he has like an audio one. Like, you have to get it. It won't even answer your questions, but it'll give you a sort of
gives you a grid, a framework for how to process it. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. So that's what I would say.
We did the same thing, and it was one of those things that I felt strongly from the Lord. I don't know if I just want a new sound system in the house or no, if I use that, but I felt like we needed 24/7 worship in our house. So as soon as when all else fails worship, that's kind of we went there as well. We installed speakers in basically every room.
Shout out to Sonos.
Shout out to Sonos. And so we installed speakers in almost every room. The kids' rooms, our bedroom, downstairs, and we had, what was her name? I forget. Julie True. That girl.
That was awesome.
All night long we would listen to Julie True. I'd never heard of her before.
I'd never heard of her still.
She's
awesome.
just like melodic.
Through the night.
Worship through the night. Yeah. And then I just had these worship playlists just playing in our house 24/7. When all else fails, worship. Yeah. So we did that too.
And I felt like that was important when you're in the middle of pain, having worship so that you can position yourself when you're fighting that, because it's like that's the most vulnerable time where you can choose to tip either to go and just, why am I having this pain, or choose to stand and say, God, help me align myself. And in the midst of that pain, choose to curse the cancer and choose to say, God, I will worship you. When you have that environment, it's so much easier for you to align yourself. Yeah. And one of the things I do want to encourage is when you get when you're given such a like heavy diagnosis with anything, it's really, I will encourage anybody to just, even when you don't have it. I'm somebody that is more like on the always looks what is lacking. What is that called? The half
pessimist.
Yes.
Glass is half full.
Half empty. Half empty. And Will probably drank the first half. That's probably.
So it was really easy to go on the side of being the victim. And I said, as soon as we started this, God, I need your grace, because I do not want to go on the victim mentality. Yeah. I want to be able to dive into you, and I want to do this well. I want my eyes fixed on you. And when I don't feel like I have the grace, I will come to you. Give me the grace. And so that's been my prayer through this, is grant me the grace not to go on self-pity. Grant me the grace to stay strong and have my eyes to just worship you even higher and stronger in the midst of all this. So I really want to encourage people to line themselves up when that happens, but choose that in your heart. And because that's the most vulnerable time when you have something like this. And another thing that I forgot to say, when we first, when everything came, the diagnosis and all, I feel like God said, do not say I have, but said I've been diagnosed with. And it made such a weird thing in my head, because when the doctor was just sitting at, a couple of weeks ago, and he said, well, you officially are in remission. You don't have any. And I'm like, oh, I don't have. Well, God never allowed me to say I have. But it was just such a weird. My brain kept going, what are you doing to me in my body? But it was.
She would correct me. Just not that I was doing it on purpose, but you just, okay, so you got this and you got this. She'd be like, no.
I've been diagnosed with this.
I've been diagnosed with this. And we're not like word of faith people. Do you know what I'm saying? But you felt like the Lord told you that.
It was like there's no ownership on it. And it's, you know what I'm saying? And it helps you just stand on it. And so and everybody is so different. So you have to see what are your tools that God gives you because every battle is so different. So you go before Him and you use the tools that He's giving you for that battle. This is not a cookie cutter for everybody, but for whatever that's worth. And just choose, and just to, in the midst of all that, to choose to surrender to Him as you are choosing to stand strong on it. In Him. So
it's good.
It's a good word.
I got a lot to say about this, but I'll do it as quickly as I can. No, I when I coming through this, having hit your family it's a crazy thing. It's just crazy. There's no, whether you're strong in faith or weak in faith, it's crazy. The whole thing, the whole process is crazy. The driving, the doctors. Yeah, the finance, the kids, it's just the whole thing is crazy and chaotic, and we took it one stinking day at a time, and we just I had this mindset of I don't get it, I don't understand it, but I'm gonna put my head down and just throw punches. I'm just going forward, right? And whatever it takes, we're going to get it done. I don't care. I just don't care. Whatever it takes, we're going to get it done. And it worked. It worked. I am not ashamed to say that my wife wasn't miraculously healed at a healing meeting, even though it's what we do. She 100% the prayers of the saints fed us, held us up. But I'm totally happy to say that it was the treatment that she got done combined with the prayer of the body. or the prayer of the body combined with the treatment she got done. It doesn't matter. We wouldn't have be able to do this without. Now, you can always throw up hypothetics. Well, you don't know because you did the. Listen, I know that my wife was dying and now she's not, and it's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's the most wonderful thing to hear that report, to have that celebration, not just with ourselves but with the body, with the world. It's spectacular. And who knows? We might come out a year later and have a total different perspective on this. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. We might have a total different perspective on this. But right now, where we're at, I will say this, and this is weird. This weirds people out, and I have a hard time verbalizing it. But this has been one of the best seasons I think we've had in our life. It really has. It's drawn us closer together. It's had our family and our kids fight on something together, realize like they entered into, this isn't what mom and dad just talk about when they're on the pulpit, and they know that, but it was like this made it real for our kids. So we can point to this thing for our kids and say, God was victorious here. And my kids got touched in the middle of it. They prayed. We would pray for mom. It was just, it unified. This unified. If this was some grand scheme attack of the enemy, he failed miserably, and our family's never been closer. My kids have never been more involved, and we decided to just change our whole lifestyle. We said we're going to hit the reset button, and you don't have to wait for cancer to do this. But one of the things out of this, like I physically said, I cannot stay in the same shape that I'm in. I'm hitting the reset button. If my wife isn't going to be here in 6 months from now, or a year from now, or 2 years, or whatever, 5 years, if I'm not going to be here, what are things that we wish we could do better? And so we've reamped our schedule. My kids are now traveling with us. We're homeschooling, and I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts. But we just said we're going to hit the reset button in our life and do, like, physically, we're going to take better care of ourselves.
You look great, by the way.
I was hinting at that, and I was just waiting for somebody to.
It does look awesome.
Yeah.
And family wise, we're going to do as much as we can to bring our kids along with us, because if I've learned anything, it's they are hungry to see us walk out, right? As young as they are, they're hungry to see mom and dad walk this thing out in front of them, and it's been great. It's been really good. I wouldn't trade it.
So, two things. One of them was like, we had a friend came over and we hadn't seen this friend in a long time. And so this friend goes, so what's up, guys? What's new? And Bella goes, oh, my mom had cancer, but she's fine now. And I was like, she just made it sound like it was a piece of cake.
Yeah.
No problem. And I was like, I love the fact that how she's looking at it now, like, but and she was the one that struggled really hard at the beginning with the hair, because I had to tell her, like, oh, my hair is probably going to fall. And she was not doing good with that. She would just cry and cry. And then the first time I got it really short, like, she didn't even want to come and touch me. And she was really afraid of that. But it was good to just walk. But even those moments, like, you can choose to just say, well, the person is still the same, just because it looks out on the different. And the only thing that I wouldn't, like what Will was saying, no, I would never want anybody to have to go through this, but so much God has done that I wouldn't change what we just went through this year. So much has settled.
I would change.
I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
All those values.
It's what the enemy will cause for bad, God can take and turn it into good.
He will turn
anything.
That in this situation. And he can turn literally anything for good. And like those things that you want to make priority once you go through something like this, you root them so differently because you viewed life differently. Yeah. So I'm like, you can't take that away. So I would.
We had that kind of mindset being on the missions field for years. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you almost live in that mindset, and then when you get back in the States and just doing normal stuff, normal ministry, just school, you're like, oh my God, our life is not our own, and oh wow, anything can change, and we know that, but I felt like we lived that more when we were on the missions field. So now it's been really refreshing to kind of have that. Oh my gosh, anything can change at any moment. Who are we to think that we are running this show, and who are we to think that we have control over this? And it's been good. It's been really good. I'm proud of you, babe. I'm proud of you, babe. Josh, babe.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, and I'm happy that you're alive, and
thank you.
I'm sure your wife is as well. And I will say, I want to end with this. because I got some questions, and mostly I think you've actually answered most of them. How did you stay strong? All that stuff. I know that we've offended people. I know that people don't understand why we're talking like this. Whatever. This is our living room. The whole point of this podcast is this. I'm not saying that we're right. I'm not saying that we're wrong. I'm just saying this is the process. You're welcome to join in on it. So don't worry if we got something wrong or we don't have it all figured out. This is just friends, wives talking together. The other thing is, as I walked away, I was shocked at how much people put faith in things that weren't Jesus in the middle of cancer. So whether it was like this oil or that rub or that prayer or that inner healing or that outer healing or that deliverance, and even though they're all really good, I was shocked at how much people put faith in things instead of going right to the source. And so I would encourage you, go right to the source. Don't focus on a shtick or a spiel, because God's bigger than all that, and He will have His way. He has to, and we don't understand it. And I know that I'm sitting from this side of victory, and I know it's a lot more difficult if you're facing or have faced death. We have friends that have gone through that. I don't know why it happened one way with us and it didn't happen with them, but what I am saying is God is good all the time. The enemy is bad all the time, and we believe that Satan is behind cancer, sickness, and disease, and we all, in that we believe that up to the moment of death, even after that, we'll pray for resurrection, that Jesus will be victorious and His name will be victorious in this whole thing, and so that's why we're talking about this, because we want to give glory to Jesus, because without Him, none of this would be possible. So. I think that's it, guys.
Amen. That was
How did
good.
we do? Did we do okay?
Producer John, how we do? Thumbs up.
We
thumbs
did
up.
really good. Hold on. As we close out, do me a favor, guys, because this is we've had a lot of giggly, fun episodes, and I know this one's been fun, but this is a little bit heavier topic.
Yeah.
But good. I need you to do me a favor, John. Which camera should I look at, buddy? That one. Hey. I need you guys to do me a massive favor, and Josh is come on as one of the co-directors of Global Awakening now. Are you? What's your official title?
Assistant Executive Director.
Executive Director.
Yeah.
But eventually that's going to be
Executive Director.
And so that's the process that he's in as
Correct.
sons are becoming fathers.
Yes.
But what was I saying? We believe in this. We believe in just getting together, talking, processing. And that's why we're doing this. We're doing this because we feel like this edifies us and hopefully edifies you. And we want open, honest communication. So share this. Share these podcasts. Please share this. Put this up on your Facebook. Get people to subscribe. We want as many people as humanly possible to listen to this stuff, join in. We had no reference point when we got hit with cancer, with that word. And maybe this will bless somebody. So share this. If you have any questions, my wife, you can ask her on her Facebook, Musy Hart, Musy. Her real name's what?
Where say that?
Yeah, thank you. You did good. Good. You did good on that.
Thank you.
But her Facebook is Musy. Why do we call you Musy? It's short for Musica, which is music. Mm-hmm. So it's a nickname you've had for a long time. Musy Hart, Musy Hart. You can ask her questions. You can go to my Facebook, ask questions. That's Will Hart, Hart, and Josh.
I honestly don't even know what my Facebook.
If you have anything, any questions,
I'm Josh Clark. So
you want to ask? It's Josh.Clark at globalawakening.com.
That's
Josh.Clark. I feel like you should have Josh at globalawakening.com.
It might be an alias.
Okay, so try that. Search it out. You can ask Josh questions, and please subscribe. Subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. And subscribe to it on iTunes. If you don't want to watch this, I like watching it, but if you want just the audio, you can go to iTunes and subscribe to it there.
Hit the like button on
YouTube.
YouTube.
Hit the like. Just hit subscribe. And do us a favor. Put it up on your Facebook. Put it up. Tell people to subscribe to this. And we just want fun interaction with y'all. So you're gonna see a lot more Josh on later podcasts. We're gonna talk to him a bunch. The amazing fun. Josh Clark, and you probably will see Moose if she lets me bring her back on again. If not, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. Go check out the Global Awakening stuff. If this is still in January, I don't know when I'm going to have this one out, but go to globalawakening.com. You can search my name and find out stuff that we're doing in your neck of the woods. Love you guys. You're awesome. Thank you, John, for doing this, and thank you, Bookstore Bob, for being generous.
All right,
with
Bookstore
books.
Bob.
All right, and thank you, Randy Clark. Bless you guys. We'll see you next week on the next podcast.
I just don't know what to do with my hands.
Just put them on the table.
Yeah.